I'd like to call the October 31st, 2023 special call to City Council meeting for the City of Lake City to order. If everyone will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to gather and conduct the business of our community. We ask for your guidance that what we do is in the betterment of our community and pleasing in your eyes. We ask that you look after our troops and our first responders and our citizens. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen. Ms. Knight, you call the roll.
Mr. Jernigan?
Here.
Mr. Hill?
Here.
Ms. Young? Here. Mr. Sampson?
Here.
Mayor Witt?
Here.
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Mr. Kennon?
Here.
Chief Butler?
Here. Ladies and gentlemen, the Lake City Council has opened its public meeting since 1968. The city code has prohibited any person from making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks or becoming boisterous while addressing the city council. Yelling or making audible comments from the audience constitutes boisterous conduct. Such conduct will not be tolerated. There's only one approved manner of addressing the city council, that's to be recognized and speak from the podium. As a reminder, persons are not to openly carry a handgun or carry a concealed weapon or firearm while the governing body is meeting. First item is approval of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion for approval of agenda.
Second. Motion and second to approve the agenda. Vote all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public participation, I just have a few. Mr. Bowden.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Junior Bowden, 1156 Northeast Baskin Drive. It's not going to use my public comments just to briefly say to the council that the fair's going on, it's Halloween, Christmas coming, and New Year's. I looked at Facebook the other day and I saw the parent of Mariah Smith posted a post on Facebook that a 12-year-old child was murdered also last month. And it dawned on me that, you know, we as a society move on quickly. 2 weeks ago we were talking about the mass killing out there, wherever that took place. Now we're talking about the war in Israel. You know? So we tend to forget about things once out our face. Y'all talking about the Florida Georgia game this afternoon. I'm talking about Florida State winning this past week, but we should not forget that August the 24th, a 12-year-old child was shot dead in the living room of a grandmother on Rome Street. So I say that because I want you to keep that in mind as we go through the holiday season. That child will be forever 12. She would never go to a fair again. She would never see another Christmas. She'll never have another birthday. And I just want you to keep that on your mind as you talk about the city business. Just keep in mind that some people in this community are not going to do that this holiday season.
Okay, Mr. Bowden. Mr. Bowden. We're going to, the only one for public comments, all are related to the HACO grant.
Right.
And you signed up for that. You want to speak to that while you're
Well, what I would rather do, man, if you don't mind, is just to see where the conversation is going to go as far as the council and HACO is concerned. I mean, I have anything to say.
Bartier?
So I'm sort of new to this. I didn't know if I would be answering questions from you all about the proposal or anything, so, but I see I got a 3-minute timer. I won't go over the 3 minutes that I went over last time. I want to thank you very much for calling the special meeting. We appreciate that. I know it's not so great coming out on Halloween, but I appreciate it. Also, our general manager, Mark Easton, sorry he can't be here, he's traveling, so you have to put up with me for another 2 minutes and 27 seconds, sorry. I won't go over the benefits of the grant program for the rural community because we talked about that in my last 3 minutes. What I will say is that HACO's committed to this community. We're committed to creating jobs. We have the only apprenticeship program in a 10-county north central rural Florida area. And we hire probably 100 entry-level folks every year and train them. And we want to try to help them get a career in aviation. And we're committed to that. We're committed to training the local workforce to become world-class aircraft technicians. And that commitment's not going to change. So I want to, and that also ties into this gentleman's comment because we see positive work and career and employment future as combating the other issues that the community has. So also in that same note, we'll communicate here, and management allowed me to toss this out, but we've already informed the employees that in January 1st, we're going to be raising our wage and salary structure. So the entry-level folks will be at $18 an hour, and then everybody else goes up from there. And again, that's our commitment to bring in local talent and training them and helping them get a start on a career. So these things demonstrate our commitment to the community. We're asking for a positive vote to allow us to apply for this grant, allow the city to apply for the grant. This grant will accelerate the capital expenditures that we've already agreed to do at the airport. So it will shorten the term for us to do those improvements, which will mean that the jobs that come from those will come quicker. Right now, we talk about 100 jobs. There's 100 folks out there waiting on a paycheck. This came up before with some COVID money, and that project didn't go through. It was the same hangar. So those 100 folks that are going to be in that hangar, they've been waiting. They're still waiting, and we want to get them employed and get them a job. So thank you for your consideration of this.
Thank you.
If we have questions later about parts of the grant or the MOU, then we can talk about that?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Jeff Hendry.
Mayor and Commission, name's Jeff Hendry. I'm over from the North Florida Economic Development Partnership, and drove over from Tallahassee. And the reason I did that because I feel compelled that this is an unbelievable opportunity, and one I'm hopeful that the city can see in terms of the benefits. And along those lines, I just want to share with you over the last year, our legislative delegation, our rural communities, 30 counties strong, has been fighting for a lot of changes as it relates to the Rural Infrastructure Fund. One of those things is not having to create a local match. The other thing is the ability to get direct payment to vendors as opposed to a cost reimbursable grant, which this would not be, where the city is putting out money waiting to be reimbursed. And it's a huge, huge benefit. Other than $4.5 to $4.8 million Rural Infrastructure Fund, we've had direct conversations with the governor's office as well as the Florida Department of Commerce, and they're really strong on this project. Aerospace aviation is a growing industry in this state, and you've got one of the greatest assets in the entire state, not just this region and not just locally. When you employ over 650 people in the aviation unit, looking at an additional 100 jobs. And I would just share with y'all, I'm sure you've heard the news about the Georgia Pacific plant over Perry, shutting down over 500 jobs at their Georgia Pacific plant. You've got the opportunity to actually exponentially increase your workforce. That's gonna add a lot to the local economy. That's gonna lot not just out of HACO, but your retailers, your fuel and your gas tax, and your housing stock as well. The other thing I'd point out to you is these are gonna be improvements made to city-owned facilities. These are not owned by HACO, these are owned by the city, so at some point, the improvements that are out there, these are city-owned facilities that are gonna be improved over time, and I think that's a very important point to make. The other thing I would point out to you is it sends a very positive message to other businesses and other prospects, not just in the state of Florida, but outside that might be looking to relocate into the Lake City, Columbia County area. It might send the wrong message if you're looking at a grant that literally provides no risk for the city. You're looking at a great corporate partner that is willing to do most of the grant administration, grant management, project management in cooperation with your city management. So it's a great opportunity to, one, build that relationship. The other thing, again, I would say, as you heard Mark say, this $4.5 million will allow them to reinvest money that they normally might outlay for this improvement to accelerate their further expansion. So they might look at other hangars that they could put that money they'd be putting into this project because of the sake. I would just tell you, just strongly encourage you to look at this opportunity. Little to no risk. I'm here to answer any questions you might have at some future time too. Yes, sir.
Yes.
I have a question
Yes,
for you. You said that this grant, has no risk to the city, brings no risk to the city. Where did you get your information on that?
Well, the fact that there's no local match, so there's no financial risk with regard to putting that money in. There's no upfront cost that you're having to put in to pay vendors upfront in order and waiting many times in the past. That's why we got the legislation and the statutory language changed sometimes 90, 120, 180 days to get your money back. Vendors can now be paid directly by the Department of Commerce as opposed to that money having to run through and reimburse the city. So that's a huge change there. The only risk that I see is the risk of not doing this. We've worked really hard to fight for the Rural Infrastructure Fund to be increased over at the Florida Department of Commerce. It used to sit at $4 to $6 million. It's now sitting at $25 million, and we're going to try to get it increased for our rural communities at $50 million next year. The governor's office, again, the Department of Commerce is committed, I think, can't go on record and guarantee you're gonna get this grant, but it is high on the food chain over at the Commerce Department. It's primarily because it's dealing with the aerospace and aviation industry. I look at this as an opportunity to not, if this grant were to be funded, that the city go forward and pursue the dollars. For the NFEDP, which represents 13 other counties in addition to this one, to publicly market and promote, the decision that was made in order to try to recruit additional business and industry to come out, not only to the airport, but other sites that you have in the community. So when I say no risk, there's no financial risk. And that's, I think, a big, big thing. The other thing I would say is, I read a comment, and I apologize, I'm paraphrasing, it said that it's not in the best interest of the city. I read that somewhere or heard it. I can't think of anything that's of greater city interest. And when I'm talking about your city, I'm not talking necessarily about the institution of city government. I'm talking about your community with regard to employment, wages, your youth that can pursue careers starting at 17, 18 years old, getting paid $18, $20 an hour with an opportunity to make it a career. Aviation and aerospace is one of the industries that's projected to grow over the next 10 years, one of the few. So I just think it's a great opportunity for y'all. I can tell you, the NFEDP, we manage grants, we pursue grants on behalf of local governments all the time in our region. We're committed to working hand in hand with your city administration to minimize their labor, their investment in this. If that's an issue, we manage literally over $2 to $3 million worth of grants every year for and on behalf of local government. So we'd love to work with y'all, HACO, and I just think it's a great corporate partner relationship to develop for the city. And that's where I would close.
And I understand, and I hear you on no financial risk.
Mm-hmm.
But and this will probably come back to our city manager, our administration. I'm reminded, what about the risk? Let me ask it this way. What about the risk of, if the city signed on this grant, how will it affect our grants in the future? And let me tell you why I asked that question. Some months ago, a private entity, the Wilson family, stood at that podium and asked if the city would partner with them with signing grants. And the city said no. And the reason for that is because they're a private entity. And if the city signed on grants for the Wilson family, this private entity, and it's the theater, the historical theater here, if the city signed on grants for them, then it would affect future grants for the city. What makes it different? What makes this entity different? You're a private entity, and that's probably a question for you.
I'll give you a couple different reasons. One, it has to do with the type of grant it is. So I don't know what type of grant you applied for or refused to sign off on for the local theater. The other thing is you're looking at an employer that's been in this community over 60 years and has made most recently a long-term commitment through a lease to this community. And the only person eligible to apply for this grant is the city. It has to be a local government entity. You're the only entity in this game that can formally apply for the grant. Now, I think y'all have probably seen, I just saw as late as yesterday, I guess a draft MOU that you were considering too. If you look at what HACO is stepping up and willing to do as opposed with regard to procurement in consistency with the city manager and the city administration procurement policies, the project management and design, and by the way, the Department of Commerce has looked at various aspects of this, and they're willing to, as long as the procurement policies are consistent with the city, that is already a hurdle that's been overcome. And so, to get more to your question, it has to do with the type of grant. This is a rural infrastructure fund grant, which has to be applied for by a local government entity, that being the city of Lake City. Again, the changes that were made are significant for all of our local governments, but this particular grant is not going to have an impact on any type of other grant that you have in the hopper or that you're looking to do it. Again, it gets.
That's my question.
Yeah.
How do you know that?
Well, I guess with all due respect, why would it? Why would it affect your? I'm telling you blanket that this would not have any impact on your ability to apply for other grants, but be that Parks and Rec, be that FDOT, be that DEP, be that additional Department of Commerce grants that are available through them. Not one impact on your ability to apply for other grants. I would actually push it to the point where you would say you're starting to build a relationship and credibility, for lack of a better word, with the Department of Commerce taking on this kind of grant, showing the public-private partnership that you do have, because they look on that very favorably. They want job creation, good high-page weighing jobs that are leading to careers. He's exactly right. He's the only employer in our entire region that steps up and does apprenticeships to the level that they do. And that is significant for your high school youth, for your youth that are underemployed or looking for a career, because there's no better industry, certainly in Florida, aviation, aerospace, and manufacturing. Those are the three entities that we're looking to try to promote in this region. And you're sitting, I can't stress enough, that asset that you have at that airport, and that it can be a job creation, and I'll just say it, machine over time. And you've got the improvement to those facilities over time, and you're being asked to basically apply for $4.5 million. No guarantee you'll get it, but I can tell you the conversations we've had, there's a strong likelihood that you'll be successful.
I hear what you're saying, and it all sounds good. Do you have the answer to the question?
No, that's one of the many concerns I have with this.
I guess my question would be, is there a reason why this commission wouldn't see?
I can give you several reasons why. First of all, when is it gonna stop, when HACO gonna stop asking the city for something? When HACO gonna start giving back? HACO is sitting on the assessed value of where HACO is right now is better than $2 million. And they're not nearly paying the city that back for leasing that property out there. When is it gonna stop?
Councilman Hill, all I can tell you is they give back to this entire community by employing over 650.
I done heard that story before.
Okay.
About HACO giving back, but it's yet to be seen.
In the form of 650 jobs in this community?
Well, when you came to us before about renewing the lease, y'all promised all these jobs.
They're there.
Okay. Now, how many students you have working out there?
I don't know. I don't work for HACO. I'm here to talk to you as a regional economic development person in the state of Florida, where our 14 county region. I'm here to, and if it weren't in the best interest of the city, and it wasn't in the best interest of our region, and frankly, the jobs that would be created, I wouldn't be standing up at this podium. I believe in my heart I have too much integrity and credibility for that.
Johnny?
Yes. I don't want a long drawn out answer.
But yes, sir.
Yeah, because that's, it could be confusing.
Yeah.
This is a simple question. In the last 8 year, how many times have you been to HACO? Personally, you,
3.
in the last 6 months?
Once.
Have you seen any improvements to the property?
I haven't done a full-scale tour of the facility. I know.
So the answer is no.
No, I haven't been out there,
Okay,
but I do know this, sir. With $4.5 million of this money and their ability.
Okay, sir, see,
Okay.
that's what I didn't want to get into.
Okay.
I just wanted to know, had you been in there and have you witnessed any improvements? That's it.
I can't say if there have been improvements or not. That's a fair statement from me.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson, could you help me with this here? In that lease agreement with HACO, in that agreement, isn't part of what they're asking for is in that agreement?
Yes, sir, it is. Actually, it was scheduled for fiscal year 27, and I spoke with ACO and they asked to move it up, and I agreed because of the 100 jobs. No grant discussion ever came up during that. So HACO is obligated per their lease to do this project. It will get done. The 100 jobs are not going anywhere. It is not determined upon this grant.
Mr. Mayor.
I don't work for
Mr. Mayor, so in 2027, there'll be 100 jobs. Well, we're talking about 2023. So if they started in 2027, when will it be done? So I've sat up here and heard the self-righteous behavior of some of these council members talking about the children in this community, and you're not protecting the people that work. We're not protecting our children that need a job. We're not offering jobs. We got a company that's bringing jobs. I sat up here and lost the vote 4-1
Well, you gonna
to
lose
put a
again.
lease in place that was well undervalued and spoke against it. Not one person spoke about it. The lease sucked. But let me tell you, at the same time, we told HACO we will partner with them and work with them to bring jobs to the community. There's 650 people, and I got a personal story. I got a friend that was 18, working with me at McDonald's, and he borrowed the money to get in the apprenticeship, and has now had a 30-plus year career in aviation. Has taken him to Italy, has taken him all over. As a minority, he has excelled in his job, makes over 6 figures a year, all because of HACO, Timco at the time. And so to me, free money, and we talk about the financial risk. This isn't one where we get the money, then we pay it out and we're on the hook for repayment. They're gonna pay the vendors directly. There's no repayment from the city. So to me, the risk is we don't do it. Our property that we own might get improved in 2027. Or HACO says, hey, let's focus on a place that's gonna work with us. And then where are those 100 jobs? In 5 years, we
So
might
when are they
be-
gonna start working with the city?
They're here today working with us.
Oh, yeah, they're here asking for the city help again.
They're asking for, on city property, to get a grant for $4 million.
Well, we've already made that lease agreement for them to be out there. So while they're there, they're gonna improve the property in that lease agreement. So why would the city get on the hook for another $5 million?
We're not on the hook. It's a grant, rural
Why would they
infrastructure
need to
grant.
ask the city for money then?
Because it's city property and it moves up the job creation. So what we're telling the constituents and the voters of this city is we don't want jobs. That's what we're saying.
No,
Because
no.
this is money from the Department of
We're not
Commerce.
telling the citizens.
That's exactly
No,
what
we're not
saying.
telling the citizen that. We're telling the city, we're tired of HACO asking the city for help, which they don't need the city help.
Okay, Mr. Bowden,
Yeah, listen, man, I'm sorry, I thought y'all would have a real good conversation, but I do need to get my point out. I don't know any reason why the city would not be in agreement to apply for a grant that's not gonna cost you anything. If you're on the hook for what? The city attorney needs to identify for the public, for me as a citizen. What exposure I have as a citizen by the city of Lake City applying for this particular grant. I mean, I read the MOU, I don't see anything that caused a problem for me as a citizen, as a former city councilman. I read the agreements from HACO, I don't see no reason. I mean, the fact that HACO is responsible for doing an agreement, for doing a hangar in 2027, should not be a reason for you not to apply for a grant that's gonna be free money. I set up I right here a year ago when you turned down the grant. The streets over by Richard Jim right now can be getting repaired because the city turned down the grant. Why? Explain to me as a citizen, why not? It's easy to say no. It's easy to say no. But explain to me why you can't do it. If you don't have staff, how you gonna say they'll provide the staff? You don't need the money, then no money up front. What reason? There must be some other reason behind this. There's no reason to say no to this, none whatsoever. You're doing a disservice to this community, a disservice to the people in this community if you turn this grant down. You're not exposed to. What's the exposure, Mr. Mayor? Ask the city attorney, the city manager, what's the exposure? Ask the city attorney, what's the exposure? If there's no exposure, if there's no risk, then why not? Councilman, why not? If there's no risk. If we can't be hurt by it, then why not do it?
Mr. Bowden, no one seems to be able to answer if we can be hurt by it. No one can answer whether this grant, us signing this grant, will affect us with future grants. I hear all HACO is saying about these great things they'll do, but we have to think about the interests of this city of Lake City. How will it affect us in the future? No one can answer that.
Well,
So go home and come back.
Mr. Johnson, how long,
I got 3 minutes.
Mr. Johnson, how long?
I got 3 minutes.
Now let him finish. Okay, Mr. Bowden, finish up.
No, we're not gonna, we ain't doing it like this. Give me my 3 minutes, then I'll sit down and
Okay, go ahead and finish.
This conversation, asking questions.
Okay.
Explain to the citizen, Mr. Mayor, why this $5 million grant is not in the best interest of this city. That's what we need to hear. I don't wanna hear nothing about why HACO didn't do that, they don't do that, there's not gonna be $100, gonna be $10. That's not even an issue. Explain to us why we shouldn't do it. And I hear what the councilwoman is saying, well, we gonna be a risk. It's a risk in everything. Government is a risky business. But unless somebody give you some explanation, if the city attorney says don't do it because of this, that's a good reason. But I don't feel like you should do it on emotional, because I don't like HACO. And that's what I sense up here today.
Thank you. Okay, now to the council.
I'm not acting on emotions, and I can't say I don't like HACO. I'm not acting on emotions. My question is genuine. I want to know the answer to the question. No one seems to be able to answer the question.
Mr. Mayor.
I'm talking.
Well, there's been an answer to that question,
It
Mr.
has
Mayor,
not.
and
It
that's
has
why
not.
if we got
It has not. You
our
didn't answer
attorney
this
sent
now.
an answer that was not shared with us, Danielle Walker, or Danielle whatever sent an answer, and her only issue at all with the MOU, according to that, was about procurement, which I understand has been taken care of. That was on October 17th. So the fact that you didn't get that question, I mean, I'm concerned that we didn't get that. I'm concerned when I asked for it, I didn't get it. But I got it texted to me by a citizen, and that email's out there. So the only concern at that time from the attorney was, hey, what about this? That's it. So I've met just like you have, and I hear, oh, we got risk. I don't see the risk. The money, it's not even a reimbursable grant.
And just to sum up the legal aspects of it, Danielle essentially had concerns, and I mirror those. Nothing that can't be handled in the drafting or redrafting of the MOU, but in broad general terms, probably the easiest one to look at is Exhibit B, where it says procurement of vendors, contracts conform with city policies. It says responsible party HACO, management of project HACO, verification of work phases, invoice work HACO. Our concern would be that should be city primarily, with whatever assistance HACO was requested to provide, their technical input, whatever. But with the grant in our name, our concern is that the city would have the last word as to contracts, procurement, the drafting of the contracts. We have to make sure we have the 119s, the E-verifies, all of that information in the contracts. And so that would be a matter of the MOU being a little more clearly stated that the city essentially in broad terms has all final says in decision making and would rely to whatever extent our staff felt appropriate on HACO's input and technical knowledge of how these buildings should be constructed.
All right, council.
And then finally, the MOU is a little broad in that, bids will be received, rated, and then the ones sent to the city by HACO, we would rate them and approve them. As far as all documentation, our concern is that it must provide that any and every sheet of paper related to the project, if approved, comes to the city, maintained by the city. Any and all bids received come to the city, not vetted by HACO and then sent to the city. And then with all that being said, then that's the legal aspect of it. The administration aspect is, do they have the people power to do it? But that's not within our purview. But if we had the MOU tweaked to provide clearly that the city has final say in everything, we maintain all the records, we receive all the records, and that HACO is there as a supporting role, we're fine with it. And then however administration wanted to dole out those responsibilities, that's not a legal question.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, man.
Mr. Mayor,
Briefly.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor, I'm listening at the attorney talk about things that we have concerns about. I also wanted to point out, I want to see what Mr. Johnson, I see all the emails that were sent out, things like that, and just to point out, Mr. Johnson never said no to the project or the grant. He said not at this time. So I just want to let people know that bringing jobs in and doing the job, doing the work, I'm all for that. However, there's some things that's got to be worked out, and I'm glad the city attorney pointed those things out because I had concerns as well. I took a stroll out there just a few days ago, and I looked at every hangar, went into the restrooms, and just stuff that needed to be done that I thought that under the previous agreement that those things were beginning to get done, whether it was minor or major. I can just tell you a minor thing that I felt like should have been done the first day we got the lease agreement. The bench. As soon as you walk out there, there's a bench. It used to be like a wooden bench, and they painted over it and made it yellow. That bench has dry rotted. For example, I tugged on it yesterday, and the dry rotted wood a few days ago came up. I would have thought that they would have got that taken care of on the lease agreement that they have right now. Just again, those are minor things that that I would say that needed to be done, and for some reason we are coming for another grant, and these things are supposed to be done, and then maybe another year or so later may come with another grant that needs to be done, and I get it. I love the fact that ACO is providing jobs, apprenticeships, and so forth and so on. However, I believe that with the lease agreement that they have right now, at least some of these minor things should have been done in the past, and then it has not. And again, they're minor, but I went to every hangar, and I can tell you exactly what I saw a year ago, and I can tell you what I saw on 1025.
Do you want to speak very briefly?
Just real quick, Ms. Young, one of the things that I wanted to point out was if you vote tonight to approve applying for the grant, if I understand correctly, if the grant is awarded to the city, then you vote again to accept. So right now we're in the application process. There may be some unknowns that you don't feel like you've spoken to adequately, but you get a chance again to vote to accept the award. And at the time that the award is granted, if it's granted, then we know it's coming. We'll have everybody's team of lawyers dive into it and look at every single period and comma and T and make sure that you're comfortable with voting to accept it. and that there is no risk to the city. So I just wanted to point that out, that there's another opportunity, possibly if it's awarded, to look at it again with all the information that Commerce is gonna give and make another decision at that point. If you feel like at that point, there's still a lot of risk involved, then you can vote not to accept. So,
Okay, thank you. All right, Council,
I'm not done yet. Can you come back up, please? Is that
go ahead.
okay? So you're telling me that, I'm gonna make sure I understand it correctly. So if we vote to start the application process, and then you or us, we get the grant, and then we have to vote again on whether we want that grant for HACO. Is that what I'm hearing?
well, I'm not on the city council and I'm new to city government, but I understand, or I understood from the city manager that there would be a grant to it, or there would be a resolution to accept the award, is that correct?
Okay.
That's correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't,
Yeah, we're voting just tonight to do the application.
Okay.
All right,
Yes.
I need to ask administration. Can you expound on the application process? Explain what he just said. Is that the same as what you understand the grant application to?
Are you referring to as far as them voted, well, y'all voting to apply for the grant?
Right.
And yes, ma'am, that is correct. You have to bring it back to accept.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion for, moving forward with the HACO grant application.
do you want the stipulations?
I'd add the stipulations. I saw in the email, and I think, I don't know if y'all have spoken attorney to attorney, but,
We haven't spoken with her.
I mean, we've got to follow the Florida statutes on procurement. Yeah.
Okay, there's a motion, is there a second? I'm gonna second it for the vote. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, passing on a grant that could have a $20 million impact over a 3-year period that has real jobs for our citizens, people that vote and elect us, that adds $5 million to the repair of our real estate that the city the city residents own. There's no reason not to do it, especially with the risk. So to me, what we're saying, if we don't vote to proceed, is we're saying Lake City's closed for business. We don't care about our children and our youth and getting jobs in the community, and we don't care about partnering with anyone else at the airport, so let's not try and bring in the ones that we're working with now. So do we want Lake City to have an opportunity for our kids, or we want our kids to have to go out of town? That's what we're saying,
And there again, we need to vote for the application. Do that.
just an application.
Again, we're hearing the same story again about these kids. Same story.
Go ahead, Christie.
Application.
Also, let me get you to understand something, Mr. Sampson. When you say that we, don't say we, you say you.
Vote.
Okay, so therefore, when I hear that, I care about the children in this community. I've been here all my life. You probably hadn't been here as long as I have. And I know about this community just a little bit better than you do, just a little bit, not that much, but I care
You
about.
say I'm not as old as you.
That's exactly right. I do care about the children in this community. Okay, so just make sure you understand that, okay?
And that should carry forward in how we vote to proceed.
And let me say this, now, I didn't want to say this. And speaking of caring for the children, you gotta think about the parents first. I've gotten quite a few calls from HACO workers, people who work at HACO, say no. So HACO not treating their employees now right. So we looking at more employees, you gotta treat the ones you have right. I don't think it's funny, I think it's very serious. And I didn't wanna say it. But if you find humor in it, then there's a whole lot of truth behind it. And I take it very serious.
And one more thing, you said the people voted for us to be here. Our constituents voted for us to be here. Each one of us is one vote.
That's right.
Todd Sampson, you don't run this council.
That's right,
You don't run this council.
that's right.
But you are telling folks that you run this council.
No.
Yes. Again, I don't wanna air this out.
That's your opinion.
No, in a public setting, but I'll talk with you after this meeting. But you have said that you run this council.
Okay, let's get on to something. All right, any other comments about the NACO grant? Ms. Archer, call the roll, please.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes.
Excuse me, Mr. Hill?
No.
Ms. Young?
No.
Mr. Jernigan?
No.
All right. That's the comments of council. Nothing.
Closed for business.
Motion to adjourn. Far from it.
Project still gonna happen. Project still gonna happen this year. Nobody's adjourned.
I haven't heard the word adjourned, so I can't cut the mic. I haven't heard him say it. Didn't come to.
Mayor, you said it. Mayor, we just said
Adjourn.
Cut off. Already cut off.